or arithmetic operators and relational operators, which we could use for us to set up the conditions in any kind of loops or any if conditional statements. We can use these relational operators and compare values of whether it's a strings or numbers. And we also looked at how to write a script to find the biggest of two numbers, and we have looked at different kinds of things that we can do with the same script and how we can keep on updating our script based on what kind of errors we'll be getting. So the next set of operators that we have in shell script are file operators. So if you want to check information about a file or directories on Linux, whether the file, whatever the file name that you sent, whether the file is existing or not, or whether the directory name of the directory that you are given is an input is existing or not, and whether what are the files that you want to check for has read permission, write permission, and execute permission. And you can also check if the file is existing or not, and if the file is empty or non-empty. If you want to check them using an operator in if conditions or anywhere, if you want to check them, then we have so things called as file operators. So there are many file operators. So I'll be explaining some of the most important ones. So the first one is -f, then dollar. So what are the file name that you send? This would give you to check whether the given input is a file. And similarly, if you want to check whether the given input is a directory, then you can also use -d. If you want to check whether the file has read permission, you can use -r. Input has read permission. Similarly, if you want to check whether the file has write permission, you can use -w. If you want to check whether the file has execute permission, you can use -x. And if you want to check whether file exists or not, you can use -e. You can use -s to check whether given file name input has some data inside it. So we can make use of all these operators and write a script to check whether the file whether the file is existing on our Linux machine, or whether the file has read permission, or whether the file has the write permission or execute permission. So let's try and write a simple script which takes an input of a file name, and then it will check whether the given input is a file or a directory, and then it will check. Let's first write a script just to check whether the given input is a file name or a directory name. So what's the first line in a shell script?
Shebang character.
Shebang. Script to check file or directory. We'll use button shebang slash bin slash bash, and then I will ask for an input. Echo enter the name. So it could be a file name or it could be a directory name. So I will read name. So I'll set as a variable, the name variable. You can give any variable here with this for naming convention. I'm giving it as a name, so you can set up any name for those variables. Then I'll write a if condition, check, everyone go on mute, hyphen f, dollar name. So if this condition is true, then what is it?
Statement.
File is
The given
file.
input is a file. Let's say if this condition is false, then
Given input is not a file.
given input, it is not a file, but it could be a directory name as well, right? So what I'll do is I'll go with an elif statement and write -d, and I'll check for $name. Then I'll write, okay, if this condition is true, then the given input is a directory. The both conditions are false, then
invalid input.
you can say echo $name does not exist. A $name by a directory or a file exists, then it will be in these conditions, right? First it will check for whether whatever the name that you have given as an input, whether it is a file. First it will check that, okay, it's not a file, then it will go for else if condition, then it will check whether it's a directory. If this condition is true, then it will, okay, whatever the given input is a directory. Even if that condition is also false, then there is only one conclusion is that it's not a file, it's not a directory. That means the file does not exist at all on this particular server. So I will end by using F5 and I'll copy this. This file and I will execute by using sh file.sh. Enter the name. So if you remember, we had a file called as big2.sh. I'll enter. It's showing that big2.sh is a file. So let's say I'll use this. I'll try with this directory name. Use Apache. If the Apache is a directory. So if I use any file name, example.sh is a file. Let's say if I enter something else, it will show me that that particular thing does not exist. So this way you can check whether a file or a directory exists in your machine. So, but remember that. So whenever you're running this, it will only check for the files that are there in the current directory. If you want to check for files in some other directory, you need to give the path for them. But currently, it only checks for those files that are in the current directory. So I want to update this script. I want to make more like I want to update it by adding some more features for this script. What I'll do is, okay, we know that now, okay, this is a file. Let me check whether that file has read permission or not by using -r dollar $name. So if this condition is true, then echo has read permission. The file has read permission. I'll just stop it here. I don't want to add any else conditions, or if we want to have an else condition, you can also add else echo the file does not have read permission. You can do this, and let's say I'll add fi over here. So first it will check, or in this statement it will check, okay, if the file, whatever the given input, whatever the input that we are given, if it is a file, like if it is true, then first thing it will do is it will echo the name is a, what was the name that you are sent given as an input is a file, and after that it will go into a nested if. We call it as these are a nested if. So inside if conditions, if you are writing an if condition again, we call them as a nested if. So it will go into another if condition under here only. So this if condition will only run if this the top if is true. If this is false, it will directly go here. So if this if condition is true, then this if condition will run. It will check for, okay, whether the file, whatever the given input is a file. Then let's again check for whether what are the files that we have given, whether it has read permission. But I want to check one more thing, like this file has write permission. I can also do this. I can just add w here. The file has write permission. The file does not have write permission. You can keep on updating your script on based on whatever the things that you want. So I'll save this now, and I'll execute that script. So I'll enter big2.sh. You can see big2.sh is a file. The file has read permission. The file has write permission. If you check for -l, it will check. So let's say I'll use chmod. F1. I'll use chmod 004 and then F1. -l. You can see F1 file does not have any permission for owner, for others, for groups and others. Now I'll check l.sh.
It will check for user permissions.
See what happens after entering the script, after executing the script. Enter the name. So I'm entering this name F1. So it will check for the file. F1 is a file name. Then it will show me that file does not have read permission. The file does not have write permission. So let me do chmod 044 and F1. So now if I use ls-l, you can see both groups and others have read permission. If I execute the same script and produce the file name F1, the file does not have read permission, the file does not have write permission. But when I use 400 and give F1, so now the owner has read permission. So I'll execute search file.sh F1. The file has read permission. The file does not have write permission because I only gave read permission for the owner. So all these operators, right? So they only work for the owner permissions. 1 second. Any doubts here?
Yes, Aditya. If we want to specifically check if the file is a script or not.
File is a script or not, there is no file operator. It will check for a file name.
Okay, one more thing. You used nested if, right?
Yeah.
If you want to create a body inside the nested if, just to give a clarity, can we use curly braces in that?
Here, no. The shell script does not exist. So let's say I go to create file.sh. We are saying I use one curly bracket and here. Enter the name. Let's say two dot. It's still working. You can also add them.
Okay.
But generally it's not required. But if you want, for your sake, you can always do that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other doubts? One second.
Aditya.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, someone asked about it is a script file or not, right? For that, can we use find command and by the name star.sh?
With this operator, it is not possible. With other things, you can always. There is lots of other options. With the file operators, it's not possible to check whether it's a script or not. So for other things, you can always check whether once you find a file, check whether the file is existing or not. Then check whether the last two words or last three letters ends with .sh. Then you'll know whether it's a shell script or not.
Thank you.
Aditya, if you just search for the file, it shows .sh. So whichever has the extension .sh, that automatically shows that that's a script, right? So
That's
it is whether it is executable or not, that is different. We can search for the file which has .sh. Yes.
.sh. After searching for the file, once the file has a .sh extension, then you can check whether the file has executable permission or not.
Yeah, that we can check here.
Yeah, that you can check using
Check
the
here.
operator.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So check for what is file operator. So the input is the symbolic link. That is nothing but we created using so was a command to create a link.
ln -.
ln and ln icon. So So the file operators to check whether the whatever the given input is a link or not, and then let's find this one other that's not that much necessary. This one. Till now we have been writing scripts and we are executing them. So the major thing in any scripting language is how can we debug those scripts. So yeah, these are some small scripts, and if you find an error, we can always by looking at them we are checking those errors. But what if you want to check whether whatever the script you have written, where it is going wrong? So you have given some inputs and you are getting an output. So there are not error as in the syntax error or those kind of errors. So what if there is some logical error that you have written, and let's say you are checking for biggest of two numbers, but you are getting the smallest number as the output. Give me a second. So what if the logical reasoning behind whatever you've written in the script is wrong? So how can you check? How can you debug those kind of errors? So for that, Shell Script has some set of operators that you can use. We don't even call them as an operators, but these are some of the things that you can use to check what you have written, whether if you want to check whether each line by execute whenever it get executed by each line if you want to check. So there's similar thing in C programming as well, there's similar thing in Python. So if you want to check line by line execution of your script and then identify the mistakes that you're making, then you can use this. You can make use of this debugging. Alright. So an X. Int commands and their arguments as they are executed. Show an example on how this works. So I'll go to file big2.sh. So I'll add this here. Set -x. So basically by default this set-x will be set as set plus x in by default in your script. So you have to explicitly mention that set up this debugging thing or something. Look, once you set the set -x.
ಹಾ ಹೌದು ತಕ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾರಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಕಲ್
ಲೀಲಾವತಿ go on mute. So once I set this set-x, so and I save this file, now the next time I execute this particular script, not entered any numbers. Let me enter 4 and then enter. It's big2.sh. Then I will enter maybe 4 and 5. You can see the each line that gets executed inside the script, we will be getting those outputs on our terminal. So the first one, so the number 1 equals to $1. So what are the number 1 that we assigned? 4, right? So you can see here the variable number 1 gets assigned with the value 4. And then the next line in our script is number 2 equals to $2. So the value 5. So the next second argument that we pass to the script is getting assigned to the variable number 2. After that, we have an if condition which checks for the total number of arguments passed to the script if it is not equal to 2. So it checks, okay, we have passed 2 arguments, okay, the value of $hash is 2, right? So it's checking, okay, whether the 2 is not equal to 2. This condition is false, that's why it's not printing this echo. Then it will go to the else condition, whether number 1 is equal to number 2, that is whether 4 is equal to 5. So it will, whatever the values that you have for these variables, it will also print those values and it will print that conditions for whether 4 is equal to 5. So this condition is false. That's the reason why it's not showing up this echo command. And then it will go to the next elif condition. It will check whether the number 1 is greater than number 2. So the number 1 and number 2 values of 4 and 5. So it's checking 4 is greater than 5. So this condition is false. Then it goes to the else condition. So under else, you have echo $2 is the biggest. So here $2 is 5. It's showing the command here. So what is the command that is going to execute? Echo 5 is the biggest. And finally, this is the output we are getting. So these are all the script. They are executing. They are, it's printing all those each commands when they get executed. It's showing in your terminal, so that at any point in time, once you check here, okay, at this point maybe I should have written number 1 is greater than number 2. So based on this, you can check, okay, at what point you made a mistake, and then you can modify or you can make changes to your script. So this is one of the options that Shell Script provides. You can make use of them and you can check where you have gone wrong by checking your script line by line and then identifying your errors. Any doubts here?
Aditya, so this check will be conducted only when on whichever lines are being executed, right?
Yeah, whichever lines being executed. So all the lines after, once you set this -x, so all the lines after this set -x, it will show you each lines once they get executed.
Okay, so is there a way to just, now for example, I want to know if the whatever syntax I have written, like here, for example, elif minus d, the last part, elif minus d underscore name, then name is directory. So here we are checking for directory. Now what if I miss out on that semicolon? Then
you'll directly get a error from this one, right? So if you miss this semicolon, let's say big2. If you have a syntax error, the shell script itself, once you execute them, then only you will get that error. So if you miss out this sh big2.sh, syntax error near unexpected token else. So okay. on the line 11. So if I go here and check for the line 11, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, because it does not have anything here. So once you provide an exclamation mark, once you provide this column, the syntax error, you will directly get them. But what if you make some errors based on your logical errors, where you want to check for line by line and see where you're going wrong?
Okay.
Can I limit this debug because if I have some hundred of lines, but I
Yeah,
want to check a code.
you can always do that. So let's say I want to just set debugging for these two lines. You can use set -x here and then set plus x here. So here you're changing the set parameter to -x here. Then your this two will be coming under that debugging, and once you set here, then the script will execute normally.
Aditya,
Yeah.
set is like tracing the file, like some
Yeah.
similar like that in C program to tracing
Yeah.
line by line.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we have lots of options with set. So -x is one of them. So you can see prints commands and their arguments as they are executed, but there are lots of operations here. So set or unset values of shell options and positional parameters. So you can all check all these examples. I'll give you some other two more. Then if you want to check more, you can always go to set -help, and then you'll be able to see lots of options with this set. Set, if you use -e to stop a script immediately when a command hits with non-zero status. So what does non-zero status mean for a command?
Like $?
There is an error.
There is an error. So as soon as a command, whatever the command that you've written, so if the command exits with non-zero status, if you want to stop the script then only, then you can use this set -e option. If you use set -+e, so even if there is any errors, anything in your script, the script will keep on running. So this +e is something that is useful when you're using Jenkins. That you'll understand more once we start Jenkins. So these are some of the things that we can use in while working with other tools as well. So we have lots of set options. So the major ones that you can see is only the major one is set -x, but just remember these two as well. Set -e is to stop a script, and set -t is to exit after reading and executing only one command. So after the first command, the script will just exit. So -t, exit after reading and executing one command. So there are lots of options. You can keep on checking them. So -c.
Hi, Adit.
Yeah.
You said this set -t is to execute and read only one command, right? If I want to execute 2 or 3.
Right, set -t multiple times. This is an option, that's a fixed option that you'll get. So if you want to, make changes to that, you can always use the set -t multiple times. By default, the shell script only allows this option: exit after reading and executing one command. There is no option like it. There is no advanced options like exit after two commands, exit after 3 commands.
Okay.
Any doubts?
Aditya, if you use -t, then you have told you use it repeatedly, right? You told that once it executes, it will come out now of the command. And then how if you use it, if you use multiple times, how it will once again it will?
It will not work. So yeah, just for once, exit after exit. executing only one command.
There is nothing like plus T or in this, so we can.
If you use, even after using plus T, once it gets executed, it executes one command, it will exit, right?
Exit.
If you use, if you use again plus T, then what is the use
What is
for
the
using?
yeah. Aditya, I have one more doubt. Can we give a script with only if commands? There is no else commands and close it?
Yeah, you can always do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this file.ss, right? Remove this total else. I can just use if. So if it has read permission, it will print, or else it will not print anything. Sh file.sh to.sh. The file has read permission, the file has write permission. Let's say if I execute same thing, if I use F1, so the F1 is a file, F1 has read permission. So if the condition is true, it will print something. If the condition is not true, it will just go on to the next set of statements.
Okay, thank you.
So till now we have been using this if condition and checking, okay, if a condition is true, execute this set of statements. If the condition is false, execute this set of statements. What if you want to execute a set of statements repeatedly until the given condition is true? So for that we have something called as loops. There is while loop, there is for loop. So when the while, how this while loop works is, so let's say this is a while loop. So we set up a condition here. So similar to your flow, how you write these conditions using our operators, relational operators, we set up a condition. So once this condition is true, we write a set of statements. So what are the statements? Command 1, command 2, and so on. We write a set of statements. So these set of statements keep on executing until this condition is true. So it will it will check whether the condition is true, it will execute all these commands, and then it will again go and check the condition. Okay, if the condition is again true, then it will again go to this and execute the commands that you have written here. So once the condition is false, then once the condition is false, it will exit from the loop. So if you want to execute a set of statements repeatedly until a given set of condition is true, then we can use our while loop. So we write here any condition here, and if the condition, or let's say we are checking whether if you want to get a sum of n numbers for that sake, so it will check, okay, this whether this is particularly greater than this. Okay, this condition is true, and then we will write here, maybe we'll write additions here, sum equals to expr, or you can also use dollar double brackets, and you can write your conditions here. So these commands will keep on executing until this particular condition is true, and once the condition is false, the while loop exits and it will go to the next set of commands outside of your while loop. Whatever the commands that you have written, it will go to those other statements. So for example, let's say I want to find sum of n numbers, let's say. So what I will do is I'll add a condition here. I'll add a while condition saying whether whatever the input that I've given is greater than 0, because there is no use for me to add 0 or anything less than 0. So until the number that I've entered is greater than 0, keep on executing this particular set of statements. So okay, once this condition is true, what I'll write is sum equals to sum plus n. So initially I will initialize the value of sum equals to 0. So that if the number is 0, then we'll also get the value of sum equals to 0. So I will enter the value. So I will set up a command called as okay. Every time this condition is true, keep on adding the value of n to this sum, and then I will add okay n equals to n minus minus. That is, it will reduce the value of n by one number. And if this is true, this statement should get executed, and it will again, once after these two commands are gets executed completely, and then it will again check the condition. If the condition is true, then again these two commands will be running, and then again it will check the condition. So once this condition is false, it will go outside the loop and it will run whatever the statement. For example, echo the sum of is, I can just say sum is dollar sum. So if you want to check how this executes by loop, so initially let's say I enter the value of n as 3, that is sum of n numbers is 3. So 1, 2, 3. So the total sum should be, we should be getting the output as 6, right? So this is the script that I want to write. So sum of n numbers. Okay, so during the first iteration, we call them as iteration. So each time the loop repeats, we call them as an iteration. So during the first iteration, so the value of sum, so we'll initially initialize to 0, and the value of n that we entered is 3, right? So the condition is whether n is greater than 3, right? N is greater than 0. So it will check, okay, whether 3 is greater than 0. This condition is true, right? So during the first iteration, it will go inside the loop and execute sum equals to sum plus n. So sum equals to 0 plus 3. So the total value of sum will become 3, and n equals to, let's say I'll write n minus 1. So n equals to n minus 1, 3 minus 1 equals to 2. So this is your first iteration. So it will go to the next iteration, second iteration, and it will check for the same condition. So now the value of sum has changed to sum equals to 3 and n equals to 2, the new values for sum and n. So then it will check for the condition whether the n is greater than 0. So it will check, okay, whether 2 is greater than 0. Yes, the condition is true. Then it will go for sum equals to sum plus n. So 3 plus 2. So the total value is 6, and then n equals to n minus 1, that is 2 minus 1 equals to 1, and it will go to the next iteration. So it will again keep on checking this iteration conditions once after executing these two commands. Now the value of sum, so this is 5, sum equals to 5 and n equals to 1. So it will check for the condition whether 1 is greater than 0. Still the condition is true. Then I'll get sum equals to 5 plus n, that is sum plus n equals to 6. Then n equals to n minus 1, right? 1 minus 1 equals to 0. Now for the fourth iteration, when it goes to the fourth iteration, so it will check for, okay, the sum value is 6, the new sum value is 6, the new n value is 0. Then it will check for the condition whether 0 is greater than 0. This condition is false. Then it will exit the while loop, And what are the statements that you have written? After the while loop, it will execute those statements. So that's how a looping mechanism works. So until and unless whatever the condition that you have written is false, whatever the statements that you have written inside those loops will keep on executing repeatedly without any fail. So until once the condition is false, it will come out of the loop, and then the next set of statements, whatever you have written outside your loop, will be executing. So to give you an example how this while loop works, so I've already shown you like the sum of n numbers. So I'll write it with the syntax. So while loop, first I'll show you how to write the syntax. So while you write your condition, and then do the statements, what are the statements that you want to perform. The condition is true, and then you can write done. So similarly with if loop, we use the colon, right? You can also add it here, semicolon, and then write do if you want to write it in the same line. If the condition is true, execute this set of statements until the condition is true. Once the condition is false, it will exit from the while loop. So this is the general syntax. So if you want to write the same example to find the sum of n numbers, let's say, so I'll start with shebang /bin /bash. So I'll echo enter the n value while I need to initialize before sum equals to 0 while the condition is n is greater than 0. Even if you use n is greater than or equal to 0, then also this script works, but it will use an extra additional iteration, so it's a waste of time. So if you use greater than 0, because whether you add 0 to your sum or if you don't add 0 to your sum, so there's nothing, no, it will not make any difference. So I'll use do sum equals to, so either you can use a dollar double brackets or you can use the expr syntax. It depends, it is left to you. So $sum plus $n. So it's just adding every time this while loop gets executed, so it is adding the sum value and the n value, and then I will give n equals to expr $n minus 1. So I'll stop the while loop by using done here. So these are the set of statements that keep on getting executed repeatedly until the condition is true. And after coming out of the loop, I'll use echo the sum of all the numbers is
Hi Aditya, minus n also will work same, right?
It will also work. There is a syntax for that also.
Oh, okay.
Forward to read the value. So enter the n value. We read the value of n. Over here is $sum. So I'll copy the script. Pi sum of n dot sh. Go enter the n value. Read sum equals to 0, greater than 0. Sum equals to okay.
Aditya, shebang bin
sh, sum of n dot sh. So I'll enter the value of n as 3. So sum of all the numbers is 6. So let's say I'll enter the value of 6. So what is the 6? 7, 6 is 42 by 2. It should be 21, right? Yeah. The sum of all the numbers is 21. So what are the numbers that you enter? 50. Yeah. The sum of all the numbers. You know the formula, that is n into n plus 1 by 2. So what are the number that you enter, you'll get that value. Those sum of all those numbers. Any doubts here?
Aditya?
Yeah.
Do while loop is also supported in shell programming or only while loop?
Do while I don't think there's in shell scripting. I have to check. So while is there, and
Okay.
Someone was asking whether we can minus, right? So you can always do that by using double quotes, or you can also use the same. So you can run this two statements. Whether if you want, you can also run them by using the dollars, or if you just want to, you can also write in this manner as well. N equals to n minus 1. So this also works. So any syntax. So these are all syntax that works. So you can use any kind of. So you can also use n minus equals to 1. That also works. Similar to a C program that we use, n minus equals to 1. So it will subtract that. And you can also use this kind of syntax as well. Minus. So it will subtract the n value by one number. To add this to a particular variable, then you can also use x equals to dollar. So all the syntax are there. So there are different syntax for different things. You can always check them. Any other doubts on while loop? Everyone try to complete this. Try to write this script on your notepad and paste it in the chat box to find the factorial of a number. Let's say I give an input as 2, then the output should be the factorial of 2 is 2, right? So I should be getting the factorial. So if I give the output as 3, I should be getting the factorial is 6. So try to write the script and find the factorial of a number and paste it in the chat box using the while loop. So here we are using the addition symbol. You know that for the factorial, you need to use the multiplication. So try to write the script on your own and paste it in the chat box. So try to write all your total script on your notepad and paste, because every time you press enter, that line will be sent here. So if you want to specifically go to the next line in your Teams, you can use Shift plus Enter. Vandana, if you use the factorial, initialize the factorial value as 0, right? So for the sum, the 0 is the correct initialization value. For a multiplication, right? So when you multiply with the 0, all your whatever the values that you multiply, it will become 0. So for multiplication,
That's it.
we need to initialize it as 1. Then same with Akshata. Nayana, can you explain the script for me? What is happening here? Nayana Gowda. Am I audible?
Yes.
I think your mic is not working. I'll join again.
Aditya, I'm unable to see the chat option here. So why?
What is the error you're getting?
There is no option. There is no chat option for me.
Listen up. Are you using a web browser or?
I'm using the normal this one Teams app. I downloaded it on my system.
So then everyone should have the chat option. So once try and close that and open it again.
Okay.
Is the n equal to $1 so that you pass the value directly, while running the script, or we can also do this by using echo, enter the n value, and then you can read the value. So whatever is comfortable for you can do that. And then fact equals to you should always initialize. So if it is a multiplication, you should always initialize with a 1, because if you initialize with a 0, then anything that you multiply with 0 will be fine. At the end, it will become 0, right? So then there's a condition while $n. So $n is greater than 0. So keep on multiplying all those numbers. So with all iterations, we keep on multiplying each number. So initially, let's say, to give a quick example, let's say I'll enter the n value as 2, and we initialize the fact value as 1 initially, right? So during the first iteration, it will check for whether $n is greater than 0, right? So during the first iteration, it will check whether n is greater than 0. So whether 2 is greater than 0. So it will go inside the loop and it will f equal to, I'm shortcutting fact for f. So just remember that. So here the f is nothing but the fact here. So f equals to fact into multiplication with the n value. So what is the n value here? N equals to 2, and then multiplied with the factorial value. So the factorial value is 1 here. So the total value will become n equals to 2, right? So 2 into 1, so equals to 2. And then we reduce the value of 1 by n by 1. So n, that is 2 minus 1 equals to 1. So it will go to the next iteration, second iteration. So where the new values of f is 2, value of n equals to 1, and the condition is it will check whether 1 is greater than 0. Okay, the condition is true, then it will go inside the loop and it will f equals to n into f, right? So it will go, the n value of n is 1. Everyone go on mute. The value of n is 1, and the value of f is 2 here. So it will multiply. So it will become the value is 2. And during the next command, so we'll reduce the value of n by 1 more. So the n value will become 0. So during the third iteration, we check for the new values of f is 2, the new value of n is equals to 0, and then it will check for whether 0 is greater than 0. The condition is false, it goes out of the loop. So this is how this total script works, but we can still optimize the script because there is no use for multiplying the factorial by 1, right? So if you multiply the value of any value of factorial by 1, there is no use for that because the value will remain the same. Therefore, we can directly go for n is greater than 1. you can reduce one iteration with that. So it's optimizing your script, we call it as, rather than making your script run even your while loops many times. So we can optimize by only running them as much as they're required. So now if I use this greater than 1, so during the next condition only, so this at this condition only this will fail, as the condition is 1 is greater than 1, 2 is greater than 1. So this condition fails, and then it will come out of the loop. So the final value of f equals to 2. Even if you run it as n is greater than 0, if the script is correct, there is no wrong in it, but you'll be just executing an extra additional iteration where you could further optimize by reducing that, because either you multiply with 1 or you don't, the value will remain the same. At the end of the day, I will echo the factorial of $1 is $fact. I'll copy this. pi fact.sh. I'll paste it here. Fact.sh, and I will enter the value of 3. So the factorial of 3 is 6. So if I enter 5, factorial of 5 is 126. Any doubts here on how to find the factorial of a number? Now are you able to enter the chat? What's that?
No, Aditya, we are not getting that chat box only.
Even I am not able to get it.
We might be using this in web.
So anyone else facing issues? Is it?
Yes, Aditya, facing the same issue.
Yes, Aditya.
Even me, Aditya.
Okay. All the others can add, right? Other than. Once try to create a Microsoft account and try to do that login and check whether you can add them. Yeah, Naina, are you in the call? I'll remove you from the meeting. So anyone who is not able to switch on your mic, so please don't join. You can even if you want, you can quit from the batch as well. So if you are not able to even open your mic, then there is no use here joining here. Anyone else? Any other doubts on the while loop? So, what is the difference between bash RC and bash profile?
In batch RC, it will not it can only execute and it will interact with non-interactive shells, wherein input is not required. Wherein in bash profile, it can read and execute in interactive shells. Interactive shells.
So this is a definition that you'll get anyway. So does anyone understand by what is this interactive shells and non-interactive shells? So what do you mean by that?
Interactive shells is in while giving an input from the keyboard or command.
Yeah, these are all interactive shells, right? So bash profile is also working with this shell. Even the bash RC is working with this shell.
Like Adi, it's like when you connect to a remote server by using login and password. It is like in
So
non.
let me explain. So when we open up this putty, right? So we are opening up this. Both the bash RC and bash profile will work. So but when you create a duplicate session here, so for this only the bash profile will work. So that's the difference between bash RC and bash profile. So even for the duplicate profiles, the bash profile will keep on executing. But for the bash RC, only for the main session it will work. That's the difference between bash RC and bash profile. Did I give any other assignments?
Aditya, I've sent you the. I'm still not finding the chat option, and I tried logging in also.
Okay.
I'm unable to. I don't know. Some
Yes, whoever
error
is not able to send, just send the message in WhatsApp. Send.
I've done that already.
Yeah. Just put it in the group. Don't send it personally. Put it in the group. Yeah, no issues now. From next time onwards, just put the what are the script that you have written in the group.
Sure.
Okay. Any other assignments yesterday?
Aditya, can you explain load average?
Load average we'll discuss in some other class. So it's in top command. I give it an assignment, right, to check what is the load average.
Live updates of the process.
Yeah. So once after completing the shell script, remind me about load average. So one more thing I told you, right, to remind me after shell script.
XARGS.
XARX load average. So once remind me after completing shell script, we'll discuss about them. I'll show you what is the difference, why we'll get different inputs with XARX and what different inputs we'll get without using XARX. So echo is the best example of checking how we can get different kinds of inputs by using XARX and without using XARX. By using echo command, I'll show an example. Okay. Any other doubts?
Can you please explain file operators, last two file operators?
This one, -e and -s?
Yes.
So today so this is this was one assignment, right, where the file operator to check whether the input is a symbolic thing.
That input is exist means if the file is there or not, it will check. Huh?
If file exists or not, if the file name, what are the input, if the file exists, if the file, what are the input that you are given, the file name, if there is a file name by that name, then it will okay. The condition will become true. If the file name does not exist with that name, then the condition will become false. This is to check whether the file has some data empty or not. So take them as an assignment, shell script to get the biggest of three numbers. So we have written for the biggest of two numbers, right? So just update the script and then you can write how to check the biggest of three numbers, and you can always club two conditions together by using ampersand symbols. So let's say if you want to check, if you want to club two conditions together, you can always use the ampersand or symbols, just like in shell, just like in C programming. You can also use them in shell script as well. So $1 is greater than $2, and if you want to check that for third number as well, you can always use ampersand. $1 is greater than $3. You can always make use of this as well. Okay. syntax to check for multiple conditions inside a if loop. So if you want to make use of this, it's a get simple for while writing this biggest of three numbers. If you don't want to use that, still you can perform by using the nested if conditions. You can perform. So make use of whatever is comfortable for you. Make use of that. Just write a script to. So if I enter three numbers, I should be getting the biggest of what are the biggest of that particular three numbers I should be getting. So let's say .sh. I'll add if -s $name, then to the file has some data. I'll save this one, then let's check whether how it's working. So sh file.sh. So I'll enter the name b2.sh. Forgot to close the if loop. The file has some data because this is not an empty file. So if I use cat f1, it's an empty file, right? Let's use that one, f1. So it's not printing anything because I did not set up any else permission. So this file is an empty file. So when I use the -s, so that condition will only become true if the file has some data. If the file does not have any data, then that condition will be false and it's not printing. But if you want to print something, then definitely you can add an else condition here and say, let's say else echo the file is empty. Now if I use F1, you can see the file is empty. Any other doubts?
Hi Aditya, I have one doubt. What is file name globing?